Hey, Rob, I think your watch is a little fast.
That's not what you say when I come in late every morning.
We've got to keep the store open till the posted closing time.
Okay, I hear you and I understand that, but the problem I'm having is that we can't leave until we're closed.
Welcome to Rewind Video. I'm Bob.
I'm Rob.
And we love movies. Good ones, bad ones, old ones, new ones, hard to find films, and some that are just impossible to escape from.
Sometimes they slip away.
Right? So, Rob, I got a bone to pick with you. I know you saw me during yesterday's shift. There I am, stuck with a customer who's taken me through literally every single one of John Travolta's films and why they're all, each and every one of them, a masterpiece. I'm using all of the secret hand signals, begging to be bailed out of this conversation, and there you are, with nobody else in the store, just watching from behind the counter, giving me no way to escape from this conversation.
Somebody's got to polish the boxes.
Well, I guess that's an excuse.
You got time to lean, you got time to polish the boxes.
I don't know what I did to deserve this, but boy, I was stuck with that customer for a lot longer than I planned. And it did remind me that one of our many tasks here at the store is to stock the staff recommendation shelf, as we do every week.
Sure do.
And when we choose 6 new movies for the shelf, we always adhere to a theme. And why not focus this week's theme on escapes?
And I've got mine plotted out already.
Excellent. Yeah. I've given up on assigning blame to these themes. It's a joint venture.
It is.
And this is one that I was excited about when we landed on it. There's a lot of movies that lend themselves to escapes, but escapes in general, fun to watch unfold.
People generally think of like prison escapes, and we have some of those.
Mm-hmm. I decided when I approached this to look for movies that had both a literal escape and a more abstract take on escape.
Oh, you're doing extra homework now.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I pulled that off with 2 of my movies. I don't know that the third one necessarily checks both those boxes, but
I didn't try that hard, but
yeah. Well, you ended up with some great picks.
Oh, there's escaping in these movies.
No doubt. Well, it's a time-honored theme, and I think we could have gone back many decades.
Can't escape the Rewind Video podcast, though.
No, you certainly cannot. Most of my movies are on the more modern side. I think you have one that's older than mine, though. Probably going to kick us off, in fact. So,
yeah. Why don't I have... I mean, it's still from this century.
It is. Yeah.
So I'm going all the way back into the year 2000, which actually was a simpler time.
Wow, 2000. I thought it was older than that.
Yeah, I think I'll get into a little bit of that, maybe why it feels that way.
Yeah.
This is filed under Looney Tunes. It's Duets. Did I say that?
You did not.
My movie is Duets from the year 2000.
We've talked about we've mentioned Duets.
We have mentioned. In fact, I think you mentioned it in the last episode briefly.
I did.
It is a movie we've actually talked about on a different podcast.
Yes.
So this isn't the first time we've had a discussion.
Yeah, I had to watch it again.
Yeah. Yes. Here's the back of the box. Duets is a road trip comedy which revolves around the little-known world of karaoke and the whimsical characters who inhabit it. All roads lead to Omaha, site of a national karaoke competition. It is the championship, though.
It is the championship, yeah.
Where this motley group of singers and stars come together for a blowout sing-off. I would not have used blowout on that.
No. Certainly not.
Blowout. Tagline, 6 lost souls in search of a little harmony.
Not mad.
No, it's pretty good. It's a little wordy. I don't think you need to say little.
No,
Like
I
six
agree.
or just lost souls in search of harmony.
It feels in keeping with my taglines for tonight, which are serviceable.
I have good taglines.
Oh,
this
do you?
is this is. I think that's a good tagline.
You think it's a good tagline?
Compared to some of the taglines we get,
Well, 1981 was utter trash bags.
but I think just like in general, I think that's a good tagline.
Yeah. Okay.
Better than average.
It is better than average. I'll give it
I've
that.
got some good ones.
Yeah.
Duets takes place in a world in which karaoke is a competitive endeavor.
Right.
Seemingly every town across America has karaoke competitions with cash prizes that can qualify you for the National Karaoke Championships. I don't know how they vet these places. I don't know what the documentation is, because there could be a lot of corruption in these dive bars.
Agree.
So I guess they're like saying, "Oh yeah, the audience decides." Like I don't know. I've seen karaoke at a lot of places. I've never seen a competition.
No, I've been to karaoke. I've been to bars that have a karaoke night, and I'm always surprised when I'm just at that bar when karaoke is happening, and I see people who like have come for that reason, and they like some of them know each other. They wouldn't hang out otherwise, but like they're all there for the same purpose, and that always fascinates me.
Yeah, there's
like,
definitely a little bit of a scene of this.
Yeah,
because like it's definitely a thing that like dorks do. And I think in 2000 was around the time when it was probably I think there was like maybe a little bit of a resurgence around then, because I think the 80s it was a thing, and then in the 90s everyone's like. And then 2000 it started to come back just a little bit, but it's basically it's just a thing that people do when they drink too much at a bar.
Yes,
right?
It is.
But in this movie, it's kind of like if pub trivia. Like imagine you went to pub trivia with your buddies, and then you won, and then the guy was like, "Oh, by the way,
you've qualified.
You qualified for a pub trivia competition in Nebraska." It's like, okay, like what does that even mean? Like, give me my $25 in a bar tab.
Yeah.
But it's also like this huge karaoke is this huge draw for these bars in the world of duets.
Yeah.
All these places are packed. People want to win these competitions. There's real money on the line. There's people making bets on the side.
Yeah.
The people are into this.
And that touches on why it has come up, because this movie expects you to believe that there is a karaoke scene like no other that we are just perhaps unaware of, or I don't know.
Here's what I think happened. I think somebody who wrote this movie probably got mixed up in because there are like little karaoke scenes of like, hey, basically like bar regulars.
Yeah.
Kind of like if you go to pub trivia or just a bar regularly anyway, you're going to see the same people, and so like karaoke kind of turns into that. And then there's the performance aspect of it, and so people get. I don't know. There's this connection you have to these people that you're in it with, and so like that can seem like kind of like a cool scene to be a part of.
Yeah. And
so this movie extrapolates that and it was like, well, what if it was like actually important on some level,
Yeah.
And like the people in this movie, like they have made karaoke their entire personalities.
Right.
There are lines in this movie where they say, it's a way of life. It is my life. Like that's how these people talk.
Yeah.
And they don't understand how like outsiders don't get it.
Right. I think that maybe what makes this a strange idea to look back on now in 2025 is that this movie predates the premiere of American Idol by 2 years. And I think had those singing competitions existed before 2000, this wouldn't have gotten made. I mean, because I think the story would have been different. It would have just been somebody like trying out for an American Idol type show, but they didn't exist yet.
That's true.
And
That's
so
true. I can see that. So the story revolves around these three duos. You've got Maria Bello and Scott Speedman are not a couple. There's kind of like Bello's this like transient who's using karaoke to finance her way across the country. Karaoke and blowjobs.
Yeah.
And then Scott Speedman is there to I think he's supposed to be like the heart of the movie, but he pretty much has nothing to do and he never sings.
No.
Which is like, what's the fucking point? What is this about?
Why are you here?
Why are you here?
Right.
Gwyneth Paltrow and Huey Lewis are a father and daughter. And like you said, Huey Lewis is not much of an actor.
No.
I mean, his screen presence isn't like the worst, but he only has like one speed, right?
Right.
Like he doesn't, like it's not that bad, but it's like he can't do anything. You know, he can only do one thing, which is just like kind of just like the friendly like guy. You know?
I think he peaked with Back to the Future, where he where he's on screen for 10 seconds and just says, "You're too damn loud."
Right.
But this is a lot of Huey Lewis.
Yeah. It's not good, but like. Yeah, he's the guy that could sing the part is basically what it came down to, and like, I don't really understand why they thought he could like act this part. Yeah, he just gives nothing to these lines. He's just like, again, it's just kind of like he delivers serious lines with just this nonchalance, like, hey, we're just having a beer, right? Which is fine if you're playing a character that's just having a beer.
Yeah,
but like he's that guy the entire movie, you know, which is just kind of funny to me.
Yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow herself, like, I think this is one of the most insane performances I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's amazing like that she's in this movie.
Nearly 30 when she played this part, I think, right? Yeah. And like she's playing it like a teenager. It's unclear how old this character is supposed to be. Right. She's drunk when she's introduced, so I assume she's at least like 18 or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But like she's playing it like she's like this 15-year-old kid. It's just, and like the way she relates to Huey Lewis, who is her dad in this movie, is just fucking bizarre. Compounded by the fact that Gwyneth Paltrow's dad directed this movie. Yes. And like that just makes it so fucking weird that she was playing this part like that.
Yeah.
But also kind of fascinating, you know?
Definitely fascinating.
But Paul Giamatti and Andre Braugher play the third duo, and I think they have the most compelling story.
Oh yeah, love their whole storyline, and all the time they spend on screen together is great.
Andre Braugher is now, it's unclear if he has escaped from prison, right? He might have been just released. Right?
Yeah,
he's wearing, quote, prison shoes. They don't say he's escaped, but, you know, he does commit some crimes and the cops are after him then.
Yeah.
So he's on the run from the law. Giamatti is this traveling salesman who is basically being wrung dry by the American dream.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's kind of his whole like thematic storyline is I think what kind of like makes it seem like a post-recession movie.
Yeah.
Right? Because in the year 2000, before 9/11 even like forget the recession and the economy collapsing, like this is even before 9/11, to have a character go like, what's this all about? Like, why are we like developing wetlands and why am I selling all this bullshit so I can make a couple bucks so I can buy a house for my stupid fucking family to live in? My wife hates me and yada, yada, yada. And he's like, fuck the American dream. This is bullshit. In the year 2000, that didn't resonate nearly as much as like it would in like 2012, 2013, or even today, you know?
Yeah.
So I think like it came off a little bit different back then.
I agree. But you know, you've introduced us to the six people who represent these souls looking for harmony.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And what I find fascinating is that if I had no knowledge of this movie and you said you have all the time you need to just name six people who would be in this movie, I don't know how long it would take me to get to even one of these actors, but I can tell you it would have been a long time. It's such a weird cast.
It is a weird cast. Again, kind of part of the fun. You know? It's such a weird ensemble.
Yeah.
The Giamatti-Braugher duo, I think, is the only... Like, they did kind of develop a relationship. Like, they develop a real relationship. I think they both say that they love each other.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, I love you. And like, I love you too. And it's like, well, wow, how long have you guys known each other?
Right.
Giamatti hasn't been sober since he entered the picture. But I think for all the flaws of this movie, I think Giamatti's performance is genuinely great.
I mean, he's usually pretty amazing when he shows up in a part. And I think he's a character that is best when he's in an unexpected type of role, and this is that.
Yep. I do think Andre Braugher is a little miscast.
Yeah. Just
because like he's this character who is either broken out of prison or just been released, and he's like, the only thing I can do, my only skill is like sticking up people for money and like stealing, basically. Meanwhile, he talks like a guy that went to college.
Yeah.
He you know what I mean? He carries himself like a cop or like a pastor or something. It's like, you're telling me you can't get any other job? Like, I don't believe that.
Right. There's something out there for you.
Yeah, he just does. He's just not a guy that had, but like still like Andre Braugher on screen is just fucking great, no matter what.
It is.
You know, even if he doesn't necessarily make sense in this part, and also he's the only actor who didn't do his own singing, which was kind of a bummer.
It is a bummer. I wish they would have taken the all the marbles approach to this movie and just had a bunch of people, brought in a bunch of people that could sing, and cast the people who are the best singers. Because I don't think Huey Lewis would have gotten the part.
I like his scenes.
His scenes are fine, but it's still weird to me that in 2000 they would have looked to Huey Lewis, and
I bet Bruce Paltrow was like friends with Huey Lewis or something.
Yeah,
you know, I wouldn't be surprised. They were at like a party together, and he's like, "Yeah, you could play the part." But you know, but like Brower's character needed to have like the voice of an angel, basically, and so it's a little hard to cast that. So I can't be upset that he didn't sing his own part. So it's not a perfect movie by any means, but like there's a lot that I love about this movie. There's, you know, the bad stuff in it, which includes the ending, which is like completely unearned. Huey Lewis's performance, Gwyneth Paltrow playing the worst character of all time. Like all those things are bad in a way that I find hilarious. And so they don't bother me at all. For the most part, I am a fan of the karaoke performances. Like I like the Huey Lewis solo numbers. I think the duet between him and Gwyneth is like genuinely touching. I enjoy that song. I think it's a great scene. Andre Braugher turns Freebird into a hymnal, or not Andre Braugher. Whoever was singing for him turned it into a hymnal. And then the Giamatti Braugher scene where they sing "Try a Little Tenderness." I am not kidding.
Oh, it's great.
Non-ironically, one of my favorite scenes of all time. Period.
Wow.
And it works like not just the song, which is incredible. Giamatti is amazing in that. The performances are incredible, but like even if you go to like the beginning of the scene to the end, it tells that story perfectly. Like when they walk in, even if you knew nothing about this movie, the way they cut in Brower's face and Giamatti looks at him, you know these two guys don't really know each other, but they're together for some reason. They're singing a song. You know this guy's running from the cops. These two cops walk in. You can tell he's like, fuck, you know? And then like the way the cops talk to the bartender and all, it's this whole story in one scene. And like from beginning to end, no joke, one of my favorite scenes of all time.
I mean, it's hard to argue with you. I wouldn't. For me, it doesn't rank quite that high, but everything that you said is true. It's a remarkable scene.
And it's a great song.
Some awesome storytelling, and the performance and the song itself, all of it, great.
So getting to escapes, like I mentioned, Andre Braugher might be escaping from prison. He's definitely on the run. But every character in this movie is escaping something.
Yes.
You know, like whether it's the drudgery of the American dream, which a couple of them are doing, you know, their past, or just like responsibility, which is what Huey Lewis's character is trying to do. They're all escaping something. Even if one of the characters didn't literally escape from prison, which he might have, I think he did. So that's how it fits the theme. And Duets is rated 2.9 overall on Letterboxd, which is about what I would expect.
That's right where I have it. It's firmly entrenched as a 3-star movie for me. I guess that it's higher for you.
A little bit. 9 people have it in their 4 favorites.
Okay.
And 10% agree with my 4-star rating, including Ollie, who says in his review, "Let's be fair. It's an absolutely terrible, majestic classic, and anyone who doesn't enjoy Try a Little Tenderness is a broken monster."
There you go. Speaking your language.
I agree with that review wholeheartedly. And so, it's not a perfect movie, but it's incredibly strange. It has some really great moments and fantastic musical numbers. And so I'm putting it up on the staff recommendation shelf this week for Escapes.
Well, this is a movie that I think people should watch because it's, I don't know, a little bit of a badge of honor, I think, to say that you've seen the karaoke movie.
There's also nothing like it. Like, there's not another movie you can be like, well, it's kind of like this. Like, it is so unique. Like, you know, unless you like really hate music or just the idea of karaoke or something or road movies or whatever, like unless you have a reason not to watch it, you should definitely check this out.
You should definitely check it out. I agree. We've brought it up enough that it deserved a chance to be on the staff recommendation shelf. So, it stays at 3 stars for me, but I'm eager to hear what our customers think.
It's a weird classic.
It is. All right. Well, speaking of weird, I'm gonna take that baton and run with it with my first pick from the year 2003. We have nothing this week from 1981. I think we've exhausted.
I'm going to stay away from 1981 for a minute.
Yeah,
a minute.
Likewise. My first pick is from the orifices section of the store. And
That's a large section.
It is. My first movie is Holes. So, back the box synopsis. Stanley Yelnats IV, a teenager cursed with bad luck, is sent to Camp Green Lake, a juvenile detention center in the desert, after being wrongfully convicted of theft. The camp's warden, staff, and other inmates have an unusual task, digging seemingly endless holes in the dried-up lake bed. As Stanley digs, he uncovers secrets about the camp's mysterious purpose and discovers a family curse that might finally be broken. Tagline, some secrets are too big to keep hidden, which is fine.
Blah.
Yeah, it's unremarkable.
Yeah.
So this is a movie adapted from Louis C.K.'s best-selling novel, which I think was popular amongst the youths, perhaps just a little after we were young.
Okay.
So not necessarily something that was on our radar, but very popular for the generation younger than us. And there's some mystery here. There's some comedy. It's a coming of age drama. This is directed by Andrew Davis, who also directed The Fugitive, which is peculiar. And it stars. It's kind of a breakout role for Shia LaBeouf, but you also get Sigourney Weaver here. She's the warden. John Voight is an unhinged
The actor.
Yeah, John Voight, the actor, is. He plays a character called Mr. Sir, and yeah, he's channeling a little bit of that Anaconda
That's
energy.
what I was going to say.
Yeah,
Just a little bit.
not too far removed from that performance, and it's still in him. And yeah, there's a lot going on in this. So there's a couple flashbacks. There's multiple storylines, and it's a surprisingly complex story for its manageable runtime. How does it fit the theme? So I said that I chose this because quite literally, it has the escape element relating to fleeing from Camp Green Lake. But there's also some more of the abstract elements in terms of the Yelnats family trying to escape from the curse that they've been stuck with for generations, trying to get away from some burdens of history and guilt here with some of the characters. But yeah, several elements of escape at play. What's interesting is that Louis C.K. not only wrote the book, but he wrote the screenplay for the movie. So very connected to this story and bringing it to the big screen. It was shot in California. And yeah, Shia LaBeouf hadn't really shown up in much. He was on a TV show, which I can't remember the name of, but this is definitely pre nut job Shia LaBeouf. So we're getting kind of that
He hadn't had the success that would
wholesome kid. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
fuel the nut jobber.
Right. So why did I choose this? I had read countless mentions of the fact that this has an incredibly tightly constructed plot. And it is complex. But every loose end, which I didn't think would be tied up, is tied up. And it, like all the disparate elements that seem disconnected do really play a role. I remember thinking as the credits rolled how this could have easily been a 10-episode Netflix series where like every kid in the camp gets a backstory and like a whole episode is devoted to one of the flashbacks.
Every hole gets an episode.
Right. And I'm so fucking thankful that it was not that.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that perhaps this is becoming a TV series. And
I think so, yeah.
That's disappointing because I think it is exactly right as a movie. And I don't know that I'd be interested in the TV series, even though I'm sure it'll do well.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Is this a popular movie?
Apparently it is.
Yeah, I always like it's always one of those movies you see. You're like, ha, it's Holes. Like I never really like knew what it was. I knew it was like a little bit young for me.
Yeah.
Came out a little bit after I would have been interested.
Right. Yeah, apparently it's quite popular. Yeah. I guess the book is hugely popular, and I think it was even part of some like school curriculums, and so some kids were forced to read it. But
it's a scholastic book,
or something like that. But what I like about this is that it's one of those rare family films that I do think offers something for people of every age, and not in that Pixar way where there are some like adult jokes woven into the dialogue that the parents are going to pick up on. It's more that, it's an adventure story that I think is akin almost to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or The Goonies. It's peculiar.
There's some adult themes in here.
Yeah,
they get
definitely
into
some
like interracial relationships and stuff. They don't like hit it head on, which I think is like because it's a family movie. They're like, we don't want to get into it. But,
right. Yeah.
But like those are adult themes.
Right. For sure. And yeah, I think that this also has just an unusual and fun to watch cast, especially when they're working together. Tim Blake Nelson is here. And yeah, seeing Tim Blake.
The cast is the best part.
Cast is great. Yeah. Cast is really good. The kids are good, and kids can very often be bad. But I think these kids are really good. Roger Ebert was alive when this was released, so we do actually have a review from him. He gave this 3.5 out of 4 stars, and he said, "I walked in expecting a movie for 30-somethings and walked out feeling challenged and satisfied," which I think mirrors my reaction to this. Had a modest box office success, $71.4 million against a $20 million budget. It has a 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd with 2.4 thousand people having it on their list of favorites. I have this at a 4-star review, and I really enjoyed it. I like that it's an original story, and we don't get a lot of those anymore, especially even like with your typical Disney and Pixar fare, which is just like sequel after sequel after sequel. And this is, in spite of the fact that it's adapted from a well-known book, an original story. So
definitely a 3-star movie for me. I didn't get into the story so much. I did like the characters. I thought the cast was fun. But I wish there was more, I don't know. I wish there was more stuff going on with the holes. I thought it was going to be like Tremors for kids.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I was coming in expecting that, and it wasn't that at all. And so I think I was a little bit thrown off by that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was fun. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
You wanted some graboids for the young crowd.
Yeah, exactly. Tremors Jr.
Well, I plucked a 5-star review from a user named Roman Richard on Letterboxd, and his review of Holes read like this: ironic, because the plot has none.
Well, I guess
that's his take, and like I said, I enjoyed this, so it is my first pick for our escape theme, Holes, going on the shelf.
My review was The Joke, the Musical, the Motion Picture.
I saw that, and I didn't understand.
Do you remember the Mr. Show skit, The Joke, the Musical? About the farmer that goes with the 3 holes in the barn and sticks his dick in?
Yes.
That doesn't happen in this movie, but it would have been funny if it did.
Yeah. It might happen in one of the other movies in the orifices section.
Almost certainly it does. Right. Okay, I'm going to take us to the year 2017.
Okay.
The movie is Get Out.
I've seen this.
This is filed under Good Advice. Not the first movie I've put in that section.
What was the other one?
I can't remember, but I know I've used that one before.
Yeah, the Good Advice section.
Yeah. Man, I wish I could remember. I can't remember. Here's the back of the box. Chris and his girlfriend Rose go upstate to visit her parents for the weekend. At first, Chris reads the family's overly accommodating behavior as nervous attempts to deal with their daughter's interracial relationship. But as the weekend progresses, a series of increasingly disturbing discoveries lead him to a truth that he could never imagine. Tagline, just because you're invited doesn't mean you're welcome.
That's a great tagline.
It's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
So this is Jordan Peele's instant classic horror movie about a black man who goes to his white girlfriend's family's estate in they don't say it explicitly, but upstate New York.
Yeah, it's got
I
that
guess.
vibe.
And he learns he wasn't invited there for his company, and also that he's not the first that this has happened to.
Right.
Essentially, Daniel Kaluuya is amazing in a career-making performance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's any other way to describe it. The always incredible Bradley Whitford is here.
Oh, he's so good.
Catherine Keener, Stephen Root has a small part.
Even Allison Williams is good.
That's what I was gonna say. She's real good, and like her character turns out to be the biggest psychopath in this family of psychopaths.
Yes.
And it's just kind of revealed in like the most intricate way.
Yeah. This, I haven't seen her lately, but she wasn't far removed from her stint on Girls when this came out. So I'm sure that kind of helped get her the part, but she's awesome.
Yeah, I'd never seen her in anything before this. I never watched that show.
Yeah.
The comic relief comes from Lil Ray Howery, who plays Rod, who is Chris's buddy.
Yeah. And
I've seen this movie probably 8 or 9 times, and his character is still funny.
This movie needs that comic relief, too. And,
exactly.
He's exactly the right guy to deliver it.
It doesn't just need it, but it's also worked in perfectly. Like, it's the way it's worked into the story and the script and the editing. Yeah, he's just so important to making this movie as good as it is. And every time I see this, I, appreciate it a little bit more.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I love how quickly the consensus on this just became, it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And then, 8 years later... there's no cracks showing. It holds up 100%.
Yeah.
From the very first frame. It's just so... It's almost inconceivable that this was, a first movie.
Yeah.
Jordan Peele came out just fully formed.
He did.
It's how did you do this out of the gate?
Yeah.
It's just perfectly constructed. It's an amazing screenplay. The editing is incredible. The cinematography is just everything from top to bottom. And 8 years later, it hasn't changed whatsoever.
And I think that, not to take too much away from Jordan Peele's other movies, because they're good.
Yeah.
They're not, I don't think any of them hold a candle to this. And I do think that perhaps some of them get a little bit more credit than they deserve because of how good this is.
Maybe. I really like his other movies.
Do you?
Yeah. I still think this is his best.
Yeah.
But to me, it's not, I don't feel like he's lost a step or anything like that. I think it's just, I don't know. I feel for one thing, I think Get Out is a movie that you don't necessarily top.
No.
I have minor grievances with his other movies. But I still think they're both outstanding. They're both 4-star movies for me.
Interesting. Okay.
I just don't think that they're as good.
Yeah. Okay.
Get Out is rated 4.22 overall on Letterboxd, and 31,000 users have it in their 4 favorites. It's not surprising.
No, that doesn't surprise me at all.
That includes me. 31% agree with my 5-star rating, including Giaba, who says in their review, the most psychopathic thing in this whole movie is that everyone uses Bing for some reason.
Yeah, that's a head scratcher.
Well, they're all using Microsoft laptops, and so there was clearly
I'm sure that was part of it.
Part of the deal. So Get Out, easily one of the best films of the century. So I'm putting it up on the staff recommendation shelves this week for escapes.
I can't imagine this one not continuing to hold up for years and years and years and years.
Yeah. I don't know how this movie would. Yeah, how would it become irrelevant?
Right, I agree. It's interesting that you mentioned that Peele's other movies were 4-star movies for me. I agree. This is a 5-star film for me. I would put his other 2 at 3 stars, but maybe I just need to give him more time. I'm excited to see what he does next, and I know he's got more stuff in the works, and I'm thrilled, no pun intended, that he is playing in this genre and helping to evolve horror in interesting ways.
Well, his other 2, I would argue that this might be his only horror movie. I said Nope. I think is definitely not a horror movie.
Yeah, probably not.
Us is I don't know. We could have that discussion, I guess.
Yeah.
I like that he, first of all, continues to do original stuff. He's not taking his name and going well, I'll make a Marvel movie for $100 million or whatever.
Right.
He's not doing the big payday thing. He's not making sequels. So he's doing his own original material, and he's taking his time. You know, like he's not just going like, I'm just going to make something real fast because I have an idea or like so there's a paycheck in it. You know, like he wants to make. He has the big picture view, and he's like, what does my career look like? You know, what do I want to do with my career? Especially after you come out of the gate with Get Out, and not to say he had a blank check, but like close to it after that. And, you know, he has a lot of power in that sense. So it's like, do something interesting with it, and that's exactly what he's doing, which I love.
Yeah, you know, I agree with you that his other movies venture further from horror than this does. Yeah. But I think with each of them, he's taking a thematic element that is common in the horror genre and doing something very different with it each time. Yeah. And some of them get further and further away from the core of that genre. But it seems like he's very grounded in what makes horror and how to make that different now in modern times. And I really appreciate that.
And so, he always has something to say.
Yes, 100%. Well, I would never turn down an opportunity to rewatch this, so I'm glad you brought it to the shelf. And it fits the theme perfectly.
It does, though. I mean, Get Out.
Yeah, Get Out. Yes.
No explanation necessary.
Yes. Great. Well, I'm just going to go 1 year earlier for my second pick. My next movie is from 2016. It is from the Everything's Texas in Texas section of the store. And this is Hell or High Water. Back of the box. Two brothers, Toby and Tanner Howard, embark on a series of bank robberies across rural Texas to save their family ranch from foreclosure. As they evade the law, Texas Rangers Marcus Hamilton and Alberto Parker are hot on their trail. With desperation driving the Howards and a deep bond tying them together, the stage is set for a thrilling showdown. Tagline, blood always follows money. Okay.
Yeah, my first reaction was I think I like it, but now I'm like, what does that even mean?
I don't know.
I just heard the word blood and money. I'm like, I like it.
Yeah.
Now I'm wondering.
I think it's like those words sound good together.
Yeah.
But so this is directed by David Mackenzie, who's decidedly not from Texas. He's a British guy. Written by Taylor Sheridan. Hell or High Water is kind of a modern Western in the way that a lot of Taylor Sheridan's movies are. We've had him on the shelf before with Sicario. The dude just knows how to tell American stories, modern American stories, I think better than most writers today. And it's a very specific type of American story. He's a Texas guy. And
I mean, they're like stripped down, you know, his story. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's a very stripped down, like, this is what we're doing.
Yes. Yes. And, you know, in addition to Sicario, people also know him from Yellowstone and most recently Landman, which
you're a huge fan.
I'm a big fan of Landman. Yeah.
Contrary to popular belief, we occasionally watch television shows.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, occasionally.
We're just not allowed to at the store.
Yeah, we don't talk about it much. Yeah. So this stars Chris Pine. He's one of the brothers. And the other brother is Ben Foster. So, by the way, we also have Jeff Bridges in a standout performance as the Ranger, and Gil Birmingham as his partner Alberto. But I do want to talk about Ben Foster because he's been on the shelf a couple times with 3:10 to Yuma, another Western, also 30 Days of Night. And we've discussed Ben Foster's unique ability to play an utter whack job. And he is that here. I think we get the biggest dose of Ben Foster of at least the movies that we've recommended in the past. And it's fun to watch him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This whole cast is so good. Like, top to bottom, everybody is fucking awesome.
And not just the named actors, but, like, the supporting cast, like the rural Texas people, the people in the diners. They're just... Everyone is fucking phenomenal.
It's like a Tony Scott movie like that. You know, like everybody who's on screen for even just 1 second, you're like, I fucking believe that person is that person.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I'm not sure, but I would not be the least bit surprised if a lot of these people were just living in this part of the South and brought in because they exactly represented who Mackenzie wanted to have on screen. So how does it fit the theme? Well, there's literal escape here. The Howard brothers' journey to evade the law when they're robbing these banks is very much a part of this movie. There's, every robbery getaway is, their attempt to escape the long arm of the law. But there's also what I find to be a more fascinating theme of escape here, in the sense that a lot of poverty and desperation in this part of Texas. And these brothers are trying to escape from the banks that have a stranglehold on their land and their ability to thrive. I mean, there's some economic pressure that they're trying to get away from. And, they've made a choice to break the law in order to escape it, but escaping is very much what they're trying to do.
What year was this movie again?
This was 2016.
2016, but it's like post-recession story. I mean, that is what it's about.
Yeah. I would say that Jeff Bridges alone is worth the price of admission here. I think he was nominated for an Academy Award for this performance.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
I think this actually had a Best Picture nomination as well. Didn't win, but got some award attention. Yeah. But yeah, we've also like we said, the performances are really great. But apart from that, I do like that Taylor Sheridan flips the script on the typical cops and robbers narrative. The robbers are very sympathetic. They're robbing to steal money from the same bank that they owe money to in order to escape this foreclosure. And
who gives a fuck about the bank, right?
Yeah. Nobody likes banks. And I mean, so as an everyman who doesn't like the man as much as the next guy, you can't not root for these two brothers, even though they're breaking the law. So
that's why it pisses me off when you in these kind of scenes, and maybe this happens in real life, when like citizens in the bank are like protecting the bank's money, and it happens in this movie. It's like, dude, who gives a fuck? Like, let it happen. Like, it's not your money.
My God, yeah. and you get a little bit of that here because the brothers have retained a lawyer, I think, to help with getting out of this foreclosure, and the lawyer seems to very much be turning a blind eye to what is happening. Like, he knows that they're not getting this money by legal means, but whatever.
Yeah, as long as I don't hear about it,
Yeah. I touched on this, but I also just continue to love the type of American stories that Taylor Sheridan is writing. They're gritty, they're authentic, nuanced, sophisticated. I think this guy just knows how to write stories that a lot of people can relate to, even if you're not from this part of the country or necessarily going through the things that these people are.
He's kind of like the John Hughes of this type of story, because
I think that's a great comparison.
Like, John Hughes was a guy who could like bang out a script in 22 hours. He wrote like 16 Candles, because it's not like he just gets the vibe and he just like puts the vibe on the page and it's done, and like maybe a little you could like nitpick it here and there, but like he's able to get the vibe down on the page so effortlessly, that he can just like crank out a script like super. That's why he writes like he writes like a lot of those episodes for those TV shows he does and stuff too. Like,
yes,
I think that's one of the reasons. Is just like he's not worried about like the details, for better or worse.
No, yeah, but you're right. I mean, he just understands this small universe within our country, and there are plenty of movies set in Texas, but few capture what he puts on what we see on the screen with this movie quite like Sheridan does. So this obviously, like most of his films, has quite a bit of critical acclaim attached to it. It's got a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, and yes, Jeff Bridges got an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, and the film was nominated for 3 other Oscars, including Best Picture. But it clocks in at a whopping 3.9 on Letterboxd. I have this at 5 stars, along with 9% of other members. There are 1,400 people that have this on their 4 favorites. And while this was meant to be a critical review, this person I think gave the movie 2 stars. The user Cinephila said, Jeff Bridges in this sounds like he swallowed 10 tiny Tom Hardys and gained their combined mumbling powers.
Which is why he's so fucking awesome.
He's so fucking good. Yeah, I mean, Jeff Bridges, like, he just steals the show.
Yeah.
I think this is his best part since Big Lebowski.
I don't know that I could argue with that.
Yeah, he's just phenomenal here.
Yeah, Chris Pine's great. I mean, Bridges' partner, I can't remember his name, but like he's awesome. Like the whole cast is just incredible.
Yeah, Gil Birmingham is that guy's name, and yeah, they're just. I mean, there's a lot of small. You touched on it. There's a lot of small moments in this that make it great. Just individual scenes, like the one where Gil and Bridges are at that diner and they're ordering steak from the waitress. Like that waitress is
incredible,
phenomenal, and just these tiny moments they're all just they add up to a really phenomenal film. So this is my second pick for Escapes. I think it's an awesome one.
Yeah, it's real good. It was fun to go back. Okay, I'm going to take us to the year of 2002. The movie is The Count of Monte Cristo.
I'm excited to talk about this.
Excellent.
Yeah.
This is filed under, bear with me, Shawshank Revengean.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool. Glad you went with it.
Yeah.
Back of the box. Edmond Dante's life and plans to marry the beautiful Mercedes are shattered when his best friend, Fernand, deceives him. After spending 13 miserable years in prison, Dante escapes with the help of a fellow inmate and plots his revenge, cleverly insinuating himself into the French nobility. Tagline: prepare for adventure, count on revenge.
Fucking A+.
That is fire.
Yeah.
Like if you're a tagline guy, you dream of these.
Yeah. Well, if you're a tagline guy, look to this. This is the fucking bar.
This is the bar.
Yeah. This
So
is
good.
This is what you need to aspire to.
6 words.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. So
Yes.
good. So yeah, The Count of Monte Cristo is based on the 1844 book by Alexandre Dumas,
Yeah.
who also wrote The Three Musketeers,
Right.
which has been on the shelf before in the form of a 1973 movie. Like that book, this one has been turned into roughly 500 movies, I think.
Yeah.
Including one that just came out.
Yeah. That I think did well at like Cannes. And,
Yeah, it was a foreign film, I think.
Yes.
But I haven't seen it. This one is directed by Kevin Reynolds, who is the director of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
No shit.
So he's no stranger to the shelf. I think it shows a little bit.
Yeah, you get a little bit of that.
Like the tagline advertises, this is an adventure movie.
Yes.
In the vein of Robin Hood. There's a fair bit of swashbuckling. Definitely some swashbuckling. It's in short supply these days, but we get it here. The plot is a little bit convoluted, though, I gotta say.
Is it?
Well, there's a lot to get through. I feel like there's a lot to get through.
Yeah, it's
I don't think it's not convoluted. It's just like a lot.
well,
So you have to yada through some stuff.
Yeah, it's a decades long story.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in prison for 14
Right,
years.
yeah. So like, I don't know if this is what the book is like. I've never read it.
Yeah.
But it seems like it just had a lot of story to get through, and so like I don't know, like the part where he finds the treasure, where it's just like, I was in prison for 13 years and like I have this map, let's go look for this treasure, and like 5 minutes later he's a billionaire. It's like,
Right.
okay, cool, like I get that, but like also it seems like it's an important thing to be going on that it just happened. Like I was like should I rewind this? Like did something happen? This is one of those moments where it was like,
Yeah.
that seems like maybe an hour's worth of story that you got through in 5 minutes.
100%. Yeah.
There's also the part with Luis Guzman where he's like fighting the guy.
Fucking Luis Guzman in this movie. It might be my favorite part of this movie.
It's pretty great.
Yeah. Like him trying to play a straight character is just, it's a riot. It's maybe funnier than if he was playing a comedic character.
Right, but he's also like when he's introduced, he's fighting like he's it's like set up as like there's going to be this crazy fight. He's like, well, you got to fight to the death. And he's like, come on, motherfucker. Like, let's make this happen. He's like, this guy's really good with a knife and all this shit. And then Jim Caviezel beats him in a fight in like, I don't know, 5 seconds. It takes 5 seconds. Like they build it up for 5
no
minutes.
time at all.
In no time at all. And then like immediately Luis Guzman is like, I owe my life to you. Like, I will do anything you ask for the rest of my life. It's like, what happened here? Did I miss something?
Well, it's hilarious, too, because Luis Guzman, as you mentioned, reputation for being, like, the best knife fighter there is.
Right.
And Jim Caviezel has only learned to fight by fighting Richard Harris in a prison cell, which I don't know if that's necessarily a believable way to prepare for the best knife fighter in the world.
Like, how did you get so good?
Yeah.
But even if you, like, again, like, you won the fight, but, like, I don't know, like, Luis Guzman immediately is like, I am devoted to you to the death. It's like, you just met this guy.
I know.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of stuff. It's like, well, that was quick, you know? So like, I don't know if the book is just like, 500 pages long and they just cut out half of it.
I think it might be.
It kind of feels like that.
Yeah, it does.
So this has a lot going for it, but I don't think it's quite up to the standards of like Robin Hood.
No.
But again, Robin Hood's a 5-star masterpiece for me.
Right.
But, that also has Kevin Costner and Morgan Freeman and Alan Rickman. Like, this cast isn't on that level, but I like it. It's a good cast.
It is a good cast, but there is another parallel between this and Robin Hood, and it's Michael Wincott. Yeah,
yes.
Michael Wincott is in this,
Yes.
and he's in both of those movies. And Michael Wincott's great. Every time Michael Wincott shows up on screen, I'm happy to see him. We also get a young Henry Cavill in this.
Baby. He's a baby.
Yeah, he is. He's supposed to be playing a 15-year-old, a 15/16-year-old.
Yeah, I don't know. He probably wasn't that much older than that.
Probably
He's probably in his
not.
early 20s when he played that
Yeah.
part. I mean, he looked pretty young.
Yeah.
So, Count of Monte Cristo, 2002. It's rated 3.8 overall on Letterboxd, and 2,300 people have it in their 4 favorites.
Okay.
28% agree with my 4-star rating.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun movie to watch. I mean, I could nitpick it all day as far as like the plot and
Yeah.
It's not
as tightly woven as holes. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, how can holes be tightly woven? Think about that for a second.
there you go.
Come on. I just really enjoyed it. I don't know. I had never seen it before. I looked up movies about escapes. This popped up, and I was like, holy shit, the guy who did Robin Hood directed this? And so I watched it. I was like, I just dug it. I like the cast. I like the story.
You do not need to convince me. I had a blast with this.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect to, because I don't know if you know this, but I do not enjoy swashbuckling movies.
Really?
Yeah. So I did not have a good time with any of the Three Musketeers iterations, of which I've seen several. I watched the wrong one when you brought it to the show.
You would like the one I brought to the show.
Yeah. Rob Roy is another one that I kind of like loop into. There's no shortage of swashbuckling movies, but so when I saw this, I was like, oh fuck, I'm not gonna like this, but it's really good.
Yeah.
And
It's a fun adventure movie, you know?
It's brisk, even perhaps more brisk than it should be in some parts, but
it's maybe too brisk.
Yeah.
Even though it's not a short movie necessarily, but there's a lot of story that they just skip over.
Yeah, once I got a handle on what was happening, especially when Caviezel's character lands in prison and begins learning from Dumbledore, I found it very captivating, and that was maybe my favorite part of the movie, where he's stuck there and they're trying to plot their escape, but also like he's training.
That was one of Richard Harris's last parts. This movie came out a little bit before Harry Potter 2, which was his last movie.
Yeah.
That's a great part of the movie. I mean, it's just fun.
It's good, and it's nice to see somebody exact some complex revenge, which
yes,
there's no shortage of here. So.
Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah. I had a good time with this. This is a 4-star movie for me, but
awesome.
I will go back to this, and who knows? In time, maybe it goes up.
Well, I found a 4-star review from Final Heather, who says in her review, Gotta love a bitch that holds a grudge. So the Count of Monte Cristo is a big Hollywood swashbuckling adventure. And I'm putting it on the staff recommendation shelf this week for escapes.
Great pick. I was surprised and delighted.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you chose your movie from the Shawshank Revention because I plucked my next movie from the Shawshank Schmawshank section of the store.
Close.
Yeah. Mine is from 2013. This is my last pick for escapes, and it is literally Escape Plan.
Is there an escape in that movie?
Believe it or not. More than one, actually. So here's the back of the box. Ray Breslin is the world's leading expert on structural security, testing prisons by escaping from them. But when he's framed and imprisoned in a high-tech, off-the-grid facility known as the Tomb, Ray must team up with fellow inmate Emil Rottmeyer to stage a daring escape. Using his skills and Rottmeyer's resourcefulness, they plot a high-stakes breakout while uncovering who betrayed him. Tagline here, no one breaks out alone. Okay.
Again, that's one of those ones that like sounds like it makes sense, but I don't think it does.
No, it doesn't. I think you have to say it in a dramatic, like, no one breaks out alone.
But it still doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't.
From this movie. Like, that's not what this movie's about.
No, it's not. I think it's written to correspond with the poster, which has Breslin and Rottmeyer kind of sitting back to back in their prison.
It's so funny that you use the character names.
Yeah.
Hey, who's on this poster?
Yeah. Breslin.
Breslin and Rottmeyer.
Well, let's get into that, shall we? This was directed by Michael Hafstrom, who mostly has B movies to his name, with the exception of 1408.
What do you mean mostly?
Well, 1408, I think, is the one exception.
Okay. I thought you meant like this was an exception.
Oh no, this is a B movie,
yes,
for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, this Breslin and Rottmeyer are played by two little-known actors by the names of Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger. So this is...
It's funny because I know them as Breslin and Rottmeyer.
Right. Most people do.
Yeah.
I can't remember when that... when the
Expendables?
Yeah, the Expendables kind of came out.
I don't remember either.
But
probably around the same time.
Separate from that, though, there's never been an instance where Stallone and Schwarzenegger are like the two lead stars of a movie like they are here. This is kind of the Pacino and De Niro in Heat moment.
Kind of.
Yeah. And yeah, we get them both. But we also get Jim Caviezel, who we just talked about with Count of Monte Cristo. Caviezel is...
Friend of the shelf.
Yeah, friend of the shelf. He's the prison warden Hobbs. Speaking of friend of the shelf, Sam Neill is also here. He's the morally conflicted doctor. And then Vincent D'Onofrio shows up. Also, 50 Cent. 50 Cent is the guy in the chair for Breslin. Breslin's prison break outfit. But yeah, how does it fit the theme? Well, there's some literal escaping here with Sylvester Stallone's character and Schwarzenegger trying to escape from the tomb. But the character Ray Breslin has made a name for himself by being the guy who does this. He tests your prison. It's like he's like the IT expert who finds like holes in your like network.
Yeah, he's hacking in. He's like, well, it turns out I was working for you the whole time.
Right. Yeah. He's literally written the book on how to make a secure prison. And yeah, not so much here in the way of a more abstract take on escape. They just need to get out of the prison.
This prison though is it's fucked up.
It's very fucked up. Yeah.
Like they have this. First of all, they have like the cells that everybody's in, which are like plexiglass cells, so they can see you from like 360 degrees, right?
Yep.
And it's this really inefficient system where everybody's in their own cell, and every cell is like sticking out, like building that would be so much more inefficient than just building like regular cell blocks, right? So you're like, well, they're putting in like no expense to keep these guys locked up.
Yeah.
But then they're like, okay, mealtime, everyone just get out, and they're in the they're like, and then they just have like the prison yard, and they're like, what you're taking no steps at all to keep them from like if you really care, like you just keep them locked in these cells all the time, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't just be like, well, yeah, we spent like no expense to have these cells where they're locked away by themselves. We can see them 300, but like 12 hours a day, they're just down in the yard. It's like, well, what's the point? What's the point of all this security?
I also love that this movie does what a lot of prison movies do, which show inmates engaging in, like they get into a fight, and the fight goes on a little while before the guards are like, all right, now we're going to intervene. And it's like, this is always the way that inmates stage some sort of hijinks.
Every time. Have these guards never seen Face Off?
right. But yeah. This was, the prison here is supposed to be inspired by some designs that exist for high-tech futuristic prisons, but
it's clearly inspired by that part of Face Off. Right? Like, that's pretty much what this is.
But yeah, obviously the draw here is seeing Stallone and Schwarzenegger on screen together. That was a key selling point of the movie. And, I think had this movie been made 10, 15, 20 years earlier, it would have been different and worse, because like there would have been just some dick measuring in terms of like, well, whose movie is this? And still, Schwarzenegger is the sidekick.
There's no way this could have happened.
No.
Back in the day when these guys they hated each other, right?
I think so.
Wasn't that like a big thing? Like,
yeah.
There's no way they would have been in the same movie. Like it was completely impossible. Never could have happened.
Yeah, and even though Schwarzenegger is the sidekick, he steals the show. I think he's great. Right? Sylvester Stallone is just the same action hero guy with some smarts that he is in a lot of movies, but Schwarzenegger is phenomenal.
I forgot to look for it when I was watching this movie, but is it possible that they did kind of the Fast and Furious thing where like they're never actually on the set at the same time?
I don't think so, because they're like sitting at table, they're in fights together.
Yeah, I was just throwing it out there because like I know that they kind of hated each other back in the day. So I wonder if like maybe it was like, yeah, we can put you in the same movie, but you don't have to be here on the same at the same time.
I think
they were in a lot of scenes together.
And what I actually appreciate about this is that it has them in parts that are appropriate for the age these guys are now. Yeah. I mean, like, they're still probably a little old for what they're supposed to be doing in this movie, but, like, we're not trying to play either actor off as if they're still in their prime, and thank God.
It is like I definitely enjoyed this.
Yeah.
It is an incredibly stupid movie.
Oh, which is incredibly stupid.
Part of the fun. But it is so stupid.
Yeah.
Including the part where Stallone gets, he goes into the new prison.
Yeah.
But like he's like, well, I'll just give him the code. Like that's how that was his thing. I'll give you like the escape code.
Yeah.
And it's like, how could that possibly be the process for getting out of this
I'm just going to rattle off a bunch of numbers and you're going to know what that means, but even though you didn't know that I was going to be here in the first place.
Right, exactly. Like either the warden knows you're there, who you are, or he doesn't. And if he doesn't, like, I'm going to give you the code. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
How does this? It's complete nonsense.
Yes.
But at the same time, whatever. I don't give a fuck. It was still fun.
So, I mean, it should be no surprise to our listeners that both of us have this squarely at 3 stars. It will always be there. This is a classic 3-star movie. Yep. It is dumb for all the reasons you mentioned and countless others. Yes. But it's a good time. I mean, like the action scenes are good. For me, the first half of this movie, up until the point where they discover what and where this prison is the best part. Once you know what's going on and they still need to escape, the plot gets strangely more convoluted in the second half, and I didn't need any of that. I just showing them getting out.
Let me just put it this way. If I ever reach a point in my life where an incredibly stupid prison escape movie starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone way past their prime is not appealing to me, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yes.
I'm not saying every situation I want to watch this movie, but
yeah,
it gets the job done.
There are 2 sequels to this. One of them,
what?
Yeah.
Are either of these guys in it?
Yeah, Sylvester Stallone comes back. In fact, Dave Bautista is in one of the sequels.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Both of them horrible. Now, I mean, this is bad in a great way.
Yeah.
Those ones are not.
Okay. Well, I didn't know this movie existed until you picked it for the shelf.
Yeah.
Never heard. I'm sure I've quote heard of it, but never clocked it. Didn't ever put it on my list. I didn't know it existed, and then you picked it. I'm like, well, okay.
I mean, it's a good time.
It's definitely one of those 6-pack and a pizza and
1,000%. Yes. So this actually performed pretty well at the box. This made $137 million against a $54 million budget. This did incredibly well in China for some reason.
Oh yeah, this is why you hired these 2 guys. And what year was this?
2013.
13.
Yeah,
that's why you hire those 2 guys for the foreign market. Because you put their name on the front of the box. I mean, you're selling copies.
Absolutely. It averages a 2.9 out of 5, which is spot on.
Letterboxd, you nailed it.
Yeah. Along with 32%, a vast majority, 32% of users, we have this at 3 stars. Only 93 people have it in their 4 favorites.
That's about right, though.
Dirk H's review says, "My age compels me to give this film more stars than it deserves. My mental age ensures that I have absolutely no problems with that." Which I get. I get it. Yeah. So yeah, that's my final pick. Escape Plan. It goes
Great
on the
choice.
shelf.
It's a movie.
It's a movie.
You know what I mean? It's just one of those it's a movie.
You will have fun watching this movie.
This is why we watch movies.
Yeah. You need stuff like this to make the 5-star movies worthwhile.
Exactly.
Rob, we escaped another week of choosing movies to the staff recommendation shelf unscathed. In fact, I think we made it through with a collection of 6 movies that deserve to play on every customer's television before our next episode. And the 6 escape-themed films that we chose are Duets, Holes, Get Out, Hell or High Water, The Count of Monte Cristo, and Escape Plan.
Next time you're on the internet, visit rewindvideopod.com, or you can look us up on Blue Sky or Letterboxd.
Yeah.
Or send us an email. We have an email address now. I guess we always did.
We always did, but we check it now.
Yeah, we actually check it. We know the password. Mm-hmm. We know a guy that got us an email address. It's rewindvideopod@gmail.com. And don't forget to like, share, and review the show. It helps people find it.
Yeah, and enjoy it.
I mean, obviously.
Table stakes. So, Rob, we have talked about hats. We've talked about cool jackets.
Yep.
We've got another fashion-related theme on the docket, and that theme is fashion. All-encompassing fashion.
Fashion.
Just fashion.
Well, people know what that means.
They do.
People know the difference. You got to give our audience some credit.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool jackets are part of fashion.
Part of fashion.
But fashion is also other things.
Yeah. Let's not split hairs.
Wait till people see what we have in store.
They'll never believe it.
Yeah. If you're looking for something to watch before that next episode, feel free to hit us up for a recommendation. And as always, we will see you next time.
Be kind. Recommend.
Yes.